welcome back to Just Talking Business. I am Stephanie Van Bark, and I'm a small business owner. And today we are talking to Dr. Marcus Bright. He is the Senior Advisor for Rising Coaches Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about that as well. But really, he's going to talk to you about something that I have to be very honest with you, I don't know anything about, is his what he is doing in the space of cryptocurrency, sort of coordinating these opportunities for people to learn more about it. So let's bring him on. Let's find out who he is and what he does. Hi there.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing spectacular. Blessed,
Good.
grateful to be here.
Good. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I was just telling my audience that I don't know anything about cryptocurrency, but let's start with who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'll say that, I think cryptocurrency and the whole blockchain technology space is something that everybody is trying to figure out. And I do a number of different things, but as it pertains to this broadcast, I'm the senior advisor for the Rising Coaches DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance, which is a culmination, an umbrella organization of 12 college basketball coaching associations who come together trying to utilize sports as a vehicle for social change. We know that sports plays such a tremendous outsized role really in our society, especially in communities of color. And so we want to, at least my aim is to help coaches and help college athletics leverage that for societal change. And my background
Go
is
ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, my background is I've been across the spectrum of of education. I've taught at 5 universities, public administration, public policy. Been an administrator at 2 universities. Been an administrator for Miami-Dade County Public Schools in the creation of the Office of Educational Equity, Access, and Diversity. Run a national nonprofit organization called Education for a Better America, where we did work in 15 different cities, a sister organization to the National Action Network. And then for the past 4 years, right up until March of this year, I was district administrator for the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project, which for those who are outside of South Florida is an enormous dropout prevention and mentorship program for boys with 117 chapters in Miami-Dade alone, but also in Broward, Duval County, Florida, Pinellas County, Florida, Detroit, Michigan, but in Miami-Dade, grades 3 through 12, 117 schools, big chapters of boys, mentors, and an assortment of holistic life skills development activities and trips and enrichment that goes along with it. Founded by Congresswoman Frederica Wilson in 1993. So I spent like I said, the last 4 years pouring into that, and I was grateful to have that experience.
I got to tell you, actually, that's how I think we officially met. I think you were working for Miami-Dade Public Schools at the time. But
Yes.
definitely, we're going to have to talk about that a little bit as well. It looks like you are super busy, so we'll talk about when you have a chance to sleep and hang out and relax later. So tell me, how did you sort of start to get into this cryptocurrency space, and in what way are you actively participating in that?
Well, I initially got in just through an interest in tech because for a few years now, Miami, in large part uh, due to the efforts of the city of Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, has actively recruited a lot of big tech firms into Miami. I like to say the Silicon Valley has landed on us,
Right.
and presented both incredible opportunity, but also significant challenges as I saw it. And so I began to, I wrote about 5 articles in Miami Herald and Diverse Issues in Higher Education about tech coming here, about the need for us to be able to integrate ourselves in tech, and I felt a tremendous responsibility, being administrator with 8,000 students in our program, the 5,000 role models,
Mm-hmm.
to help do all that we can to get our boys and young men prepared and members of our community overall prepared to engage in this space. And so initially worked with the mayor's office, and in October of 2021 organized what we call a tech tour. We bus students to Miami City Hall, and I thought that we were going to go there and learn from different tech companies, which we did, and we toured some of the tech companies that have come here to Miami. But there was also an emphasis on Bitcoin, and
Hmm.
the author of Bitcoin in Black America, Isaiah Jackson, gave a presentation on Bitcoin, and the students, Mayor Suarez actually committed to providing each of the students with $100 worth of Bitcoin. So that was really my first initial kind of baptism by fire in it, because after that I began getting questions, and we ended up gaining momentum from that event, and we came back to City Hall on December 18th,
Hmm.
and instead of getting $100 worth of Bitcoin, each student actually got $1,000 worth of Bitcoin through a number of different sponsors, and then they set up digital wallets. So cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is a form of a digital currency
Hmm.
where the transactions are recorded using what they call blockchain technology. It's almost like a big, I've heard it described as like a big Excel spreadsheet where
Hmm.
the transactions are documented. If you could imagine an Excel spreadsheet, but it's more like a Google document that the
Hmm.
world can come in and have input on. And now let me say, I'm not yet an expert in like the nuts and bolts of blockchain and crypto. I think from what I've heard, it takes like 100 hours of engagement with it, of learning about it to really try to get an understanding of the space.
Hmm.
Think that even those that say that they are experts in this, what they call Web3, I don't know if anyone is a true expert because it's still being developed.
So new, yeah.
There are certainly those with a higher level of advancement, but it's a new space. It's being developed. The opportunities are incredible. I visited actually a suspension center. You know, they have now the school district doesn't necessarily just automatically, when a student is suspended, send them home, but they go to these alternative to suspension centers. And I
Hmm.
met a young man who was in the eighth grade, and he had been engaged and really diving into the space for like 2, 3 years,
Oh wow.
and really dove in during the pandemic in eighth grade.
Mm.
And he retired his mom off of NFTs. Those are non fungible tokens that are part of this whole blockchain space. And I was like, whoa. I said,
Right.
with that, I said, whoa. And so that's just the kind of incredible opportunity for wealth building and
Right.
financial and economic empowerment that is before us. And those of us who are in South Florida, which is one of the capitals, if not the capital. You know, they say the mayor says he wants us to be the capital of capital, and so we're coming off of last month, April 2021,
Hmm.
whole Miami Tech Month, where we saw a lot of these conferences and a lot of opportunities to engage and learn about the space. So there's a lot of economic opportunity to be garnered, to be gained in the space. And I
Uh-huh.
think that it's incumbent upon us to learn as much as we can and continue to dive in. And I think uh, the students receiving that Bitcoin, uh, from my understanding, the best way to really learn about it is to engage in it. And
Right.
I've engaged in this space myself. I've had some wins, and I made some mistakes in there too. I
Look,
mean,
I'm not even, I don't even have the guts yet.
hey, I
Because
made
if
some
they told me
mistakes.
if you miss your password, as much as I lose my password, I wouldn't even know what my money is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was able to keep the password, but in transferring, there are these things called digital wallets, what hold your currency, and moving and trying to move a significant amount of money from one digital wallet, it's actually crypto.com, to a Coinbase wallet, uh, selected the wrong network, and the money was just gone. And so that's
Like,
the
oh well.
yeah. So
My lights are down.
it's a decentralized financial system, which is good on the one hand in terms of the opportunities to be able to make financial transactions and really do business around the world without a third party intermediary, such as a
Which
bank.
which
So
okay.
yeah,
I was watching, and I think I shared with you. I was watching a show once where they had sort of a old school, new school conversation around currency in general. Of course, the old school was, dollars, it's got value, what the value is, what it'll get you. New school happened to be an African American young man who talks a lot about how um, it was a leveling opportunity because it didn't have this third party attached to it.
Right.
It was sort of because it's still being developed and it's so new, it doesn't have the same regulations. Do
Mhm.
we think that's, I mean, in your teachings, as you are putting together programs to help young people, grown people learn more about this, uh, I mean, that just seems scary to me. What is the feedback I guess you're getting with regards to, people just delving right in?
Well, I think people, especially those that got in really early, have made a lot of money. So I've heard a lot of success stories from people either through NFTs or they got some Bitcoin early and
Mhm,
the value really appreciated in an incredible way. So people have made a lot of money from it, as illustrated with the young man with the NFTs, who I believe he got one of the board ape NFT, which is a really popular and lucrative one. He got in it really early, and so you've heard stories like that, and in that case, the opportunity is incredible because uh, ordinarily to make that kind of economic gain in such a normally it takes years to do. We teach young people to go to school and go through, get these credentials and save up money. And so to get that kind of financial gain in that quicker, that's really unprecedented from a legalized standpoint,
right.
from what I can say. So, but then there, also, stories of people losing their passwords and losing significant sums of money. Myself being involved in something, even something as simple as just selecting the wrong network to send it on,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
the network was not compatible with the other platform because you have these different coins and tokens and different digital wallets and different networks to send it on. And so if you don't know fully what you're doing,
mhm.
you haven't done the due diligence, a
So
lot of these transactions are immutable.
right.
And
And get it back.
you can't get it back. And there's not even a customer service line to call.
Right, right, right.
Even a customer
So you
line.
just that's what
I mean,
they
look, hey, when I did it,
that
hey, I appealed
longest
to the top.
password was like, I couldn't get nobody to pick up on the
Hey,
phone.
I appeal. I'm talking about I appeal like to the if it's the president of a company, I was like right at number two. And then they were like, sorry, now all you can do is just hope somebody gives you the money back. But like
You lost your money.
yeah, it's not FDIC insured. But so those are it can be dangerous in that sense. But
So what do
that's
you
why
tell community folks when and I know you have shared you're not the expert, but you are sort of the person that helps bring people together to
yeah,
connect with the experts.
right.
So sort of talk me a little bit through how what is that expert trying to get someone to just understand it or engage in a
Yeah.
readily engage into the process?
Well, I think, the goal in some of the events and programming that I've facilitated is exposure,
Hmm, hmm,
information, and then connectivity. So being able to connect, and one of the great facilitators, a guy named Keith Smith, works for a company called Wavelink and also the Near Foundation. And Keith always, he gives an overview of what it is and how we've gotten to this point with cryptocurrency and some of the disadvantages of the fiat US dollar as well with inflation. I think that I heard him quote one time that I think 33% of the US dollars that have ever been printed ever were printed in 2020.
Oh,
so,
yeah, that's a
so
lot.
I mean, they're just printing money, which will lead to inflation, obviously,
Mhm,
and the decreased value of the dollar. And so you look at the advantages and disadvantages of keeping your assets just in cash, which you're subject to lose money just through the rate of inflation, and then the opportunities that exist within this blockchain technology,
mhm,
cryptocurrency space, especially as it pertains to international trade and and moving past some of the barriers. If you accumulate enough,
Hmm.
not having to go and get lines of credit, a lot of things that have blocked us from doing things in the past, and then even being able to transfer and facilitate money without even a bank account.
Hmm.
Just create digital wallets. We have to give these students these funds or this currency, which has real monetary value. So I think the opportunities, and I think that if we can get in now, because most of the overwhelming majority of the population is not really engaged in the space, so
Hmm.
if we can get in early. Like if
Hmm.
we could get in, it's almost, I see it as the equivalent to the creation of the internet.
Hmm.
We were able to
Hmm.
get in early, and
I agree.
and
I agree.
you look at the Mark Cuban made his money just buying a domain name, broadcaster.com, buying and selling that domain name. So we can get in, if we can get in early,
Hmm.
figure out what it is, accumulate a large amount of these assets, then it puts us in a pole position moving forward. Because the thing about Bitcoin, for example, is that it has a limited supply. Like I
Hmm.
think there's only going to be, I want to say 21 million ever made. So there's a limited supply. It's not like the U.S. dollar where we just print.
Right.
So you would think that over time the value will go up
Because
if
there'll only
you
be.
have that asset. So it's a chance that if you can accumulate some, and again, you can even do it. I'm not saying go put your rent or mortgage money on some, go throw it into Bitcoin, especially right
Don't
now.
do
The market's been going down. The stock market's been going down too. It's been going down.
that. You might be homeless next month. A
Yeah, yeah. But you can
little extra
set
cash.
aside, a certain percentage and start accumulating it, because it's very, very, very likely to gain value and be an asset that you can hold on to, much less like if you were in Miami and you have a house now. You own a home, you bought a home in the 90s.
Right.
It's kind
Exactly.
of now
Exactly.
versus it's much more difficult now, especially with the housing prices and the way they've accelerated here.
Speaking of home, it's funny. That was the thing that made me really start paying attention to it because, the gentleman that was on the little, old school, new school show talked about how it had become transactional. People were using cryptocurrency to pay for a house. So, okay, so I'm about to throw a difficult one at you. You tell me because I really don't know. When I think of cryptocurrency, I try to think of it in the relationship to dollars.
Hmm.
I know that's not correct. So, what really is cryptocurrency um, in terms of value, I guess?
Well, its value is derived from this blockchain technology and what they
Hmm.
call a permissionless system of digital currency. And I would encourage folks to not necessarily take my word for it, but do your own due diligence
Hmm.
and research. But I really started paying attention when the American Airlines Arena is not the American Airlines Arena; it's FTX Arena.
It
That's
did.
the
It did. It did.
this weekend. It was not just a Formula One race; it was the Crypto.com
Right. You
Formula One, whatever it was, in Miami Gardens.
and he's talking about
Staples
you
Center,
paid,
the
you paid
Lakers
for
play in
it, venue,
Crypto.com Arena.
right. It did. It really did.
The title sponsor for University of Miami is a trade station, crypto. So clearly, people are making some serious currency that
Hmm.
has value to be able to make these kind of investments.
You're right.
And
You're right.
people have made a lot of money. And my concern is, nothing wrong with capitalism, but there's an issue throughout the history of our country. Um, a lot of other people, I'll say not communities of color, have gotten the capital, and then we've gotten the ism.
Correct.
So
That's
and
true.
so it's
That's true.
time. But now, now it's out right out here for us, because
So
like you said, there's not a lot of intermediaries, and so if we can get in now, dive into the space, figure it out, which I'm still in the process of doing. I just know that we need to figure it out. So if it was the 5,000 role models, and we had tons of young boys and young men. If I had a blockchain expert, man, we may hit 4 or 5 schools a day just to try to expose them so they can know about it.
Right.
And then students that are interested dive deeper into it. We can use the power of sports and have the biggest network of college basketball coaches in the world and
Mhm.
access to their institutions and their athletes and their students. I'm using the convening power to at least bring the facilitators, bring the expert information to the masses, to them, so that it's not just in a small circle of folks who are gaining wealth, and
Right.
then we find out about it 10
Well,
years
years
down the
later.
road and say we didn't know. No, we know it's in our face. People are watching the Lakers, so it's just a matter of investing the time and doing the due diligence
Hmm.
to figure it out, figuring out where it applies to your life.
Hmm.
If there's a way, if there's a way for for businesses to incorporate it or to be able to accept it, that could be a way, or even maybe even a portion, maybe
Hmm.
even a portion of your sales. If there's a coin that you like, or popular coins like Bitcoin or Ethereum, which is what I've seen that one of the most usable coins because you can buy NFTs, non fungible tokens, with
Hmm.
Ethereum. But if you can go ahead and start accumulating that with the dollars that you have coming in, then it's a way to build it, and at least you can be building up a war chest while you figure out what to do with it.
Right. Right. So, who is your target market? Who are you trying to talk to into coming into learning more about this experience?
I'm targeting especially those who have been historically excluded from wealth building opportunity in our country.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
so, and that is, I mean, I think everybody, I believe in, meritocracy of opportunity, right? I mean, just, access to opportunity. Anybody can get it, but I want to especially target those who have been historically excluded, those who have been in red line communities historically,
Hmm.
those who have been uh, in this country under 244 years of slavery and Jim Crow, and being locked out of a whole assortment of wealth building opportunities. We want to make sure that's my initial target audience, and I know that sports plays such a big role in many of our communities. That if I can utilize the convening power of sports to at least get people together, and then hey, I know you're here for a basketball camp, or you're here to watch sports, or you're here because coach made you come in here. But look at this, look at this opportunity,
Hmm.
and you can find your place in it. And so
Is it
that's,
working?
I
Is
think
it
so. I think, you know,
an
light,
audience?
lights are coming on. It's going to take time. I
Hmm.
think that the consistency of engagement, but lights are, different lights are coming on, and I think especially as if you look at the nexus between this and the whole venture capital space, which is also blowing up here,
Hmm.
it could be a way to gain capital. Because this currency is, the currency is valuable. The currency is money, and so then that money can be utilized to start a business, to sustain a business, to scale a business, to create additional value for the business. If that is um, adding some kind of a non fungible token component or NFT component to the business, which I've seen, um, then study some of this. Look at some of the people who have been very successful in the space, particularly attaching it to their products or to their art,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
I think lights are coming on, slowly but surely,
It is.
especially here. And so it's a matter of studying the space and figuring out where exactly you or your business may fit in with the space. And
I went to
I don't think it's one size fits all. It depends because there are so many different options. There are new tokens being made every day. So
Now on Cash App, you can use Bitcoin. Like I'm looking at Cash App, and there's a part of Cash App where you can kind of access Bitcoin, which I think is hilarious because it's right at your fingertips. And I'm tempted to try it, and I will. Now that I've had a conversation with you, I will. I promise you.
well, I don't think it's going to be I think I encourage people to not don't look at it as a get rich quick scheme, but
Mhm.
just another addition to your long term financial investment strategy.
So it's
And
interesting you say that because I have a friend who's a financial planner, and that's been sort of her struggle. She believes in sort of that long term investment, sort of the traditional methods, and she's got a lot of people asking her about crypto. What would you advise her to tell her clients? It's younger folks, it's folks that probably are a little bit more aware that it exists. I don't know if they know everything about it, but they're aware that it exists. What would you advise her to tell her clients about? Is this the right time, not the right time? Should it be 50% of your portfolio? Should it be 90%? Or, like,
I'm definitely, I'm not certified to give any official advice in that way, but I would think that, you look at it as you would any other investment. Or if you're going to invest in a company, in the stock of a company, if you believe in the company long term, I would say invest in that. That way, it's going to go up and down. It's going to go up and down. But if you believe in the long term trajectory of the company, so if there's a crypto that you've researched the founders and you've analyzed the performance in the charts, and you believe in the potential of it. We all, we don't know exactly what the future is going to look like,
Mhm.
but I don't see anything wrong with setting aside a certain amount, certain amount of your of whatever of what you're going to invest in cryptocurrency,
Okay.
because or at least being able to engage in the space, whatever you feel comfortable with, knowing that that whatever what you put in, it may go down. You may see it go down,
Mhm.
but it may go up. And I've seen that too.
It may
I
do either
jumped in,
one.
I jumped in, and it went way up. I said, "Woo!" And
I
I,
need to
and
sell,
then and
sell.
I actually I looked back in there, and it went back down. I said, "Whoa!"
See, that's what scares me. Like, because it's technology, it's faster than the stock market. At least the stock
It
market
is.
is
No,
a
it
day.
is.
Like 5 seconds after you look at it, you can be back
Yeah,
to that
yeah. Yeah. Well, you can. What I'm doing personally is that there's some that some more stable currencies like a Bitcoin that you just kind of accumulate for the long term. You kind of leave
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Some of the newer tokens and like a what they call like a penny stock and things like that. I may look at making some short term moves. So if I see it jump up 40%, I may go on and grab that.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
And then when it starts to dip,
Let
get
me
out.
grab that. Yeah, hey, I might do some short term type stuff too. So you can just kind of experiment. Depending on where you are and what your level of risk is.
Mhm.
But it's a good way to learn and engage in the space, especially it's like if you're gonna go to the casino, I wouldn't recommend putting on the blackjack table something that you're not comfortable with losing.
Right.
Obviously, no one wants to lose money, but you got to be in it to win it too.
Right, exactly. It's like you gotta pick and choose. You gotta pick and choose. Okay, so let's go back to your social impact work. You talked about you work very closely with coaches and young people. I guess in regards to inclusion, when it comes to creating opportunity to play basketball at a higher learning institution and maybe beyond. Did I understand that correctly?
Well, it's more so because I think we got the athletic development and aspiration and that I think we got that covered in terms of young men and women aspiring for athletics and finding avenues to improve their athletic skill. And
Hmm.
so I'm leveraging that, the power of athletics, the power of sports, to try to create impact in other ways. And so, for example, this alliance is new. It really sprung up, in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd.
Right.
Many athletes wanted and coaches were trying to figure out what to do from a social justice standpoint, as their players, were wanting to say things and figure out how they can make a difference in the world and society. And so I began, jumping on some Zooms initially, and then spoke at their conference. And then they said, "Hey, can you come in and just, help to advise us in
Okay.
terms of some things to do?" And so we came up just initially, really in December, with something called Equality and Inclusion Night, because we wanted to just create the atmosphere.
Hmm.
If you feel passionate about an issue, we wanted to create an atmosphere where players and
Hmm.
institutions can put a focus on that, and then you can take it and highlight whatever issue that you want to bring awareness to. And
Hmm.
so we put it out. We started with the Division I college basketball programs, men's and women's, during this February. We didn't know if it was going to be one school to do it or a bunch of schools. It ended up being 150 Division
Wow.
programs from coast
Very
to
nice.
coast.
Very.
Everybody from University of North Carolina to Ohio State to University of Memphis, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Cal Berkeley, New Mexico, SMU, TCU, New Orleans, University of South Florida, Harvard, Yale, Howard. I mean, you name it. And they created T-shirts. Some, they did videos talking about issues that were important to them. They used the opportunity to highlight champions of diversity and inclusion that were
Mhm.
on their campuses. And they did it in a unified manner. They wore black, they wore pins. So it was a start in terms of bringing awareness to certain issues
Mhm.
and just highlighting the humanity of the players as well. And so
Right.
here,
Absolutely.
if you were at a University of Memphis game, then you saw the players talking about some issues that were important to them.
Mhm.
You stood up and you stood up and heard lift every. I mean, um, uh, yeah, lift every voice and sing and these kind of things. So it was a start.
It was powerful watching athletes across the board right after the George Floyd situation really step forward and make some powerful statements, up to and including, maybe not even playing.
Yeah,
How does that impact the economy?
yeah.
So um, that's definitely, and so that's you're starting with college students and working your way through all of the different levels.
Well, I think the DEI Alliance is made up of college of mostly of basketball coaches at every level, but the most of them are college basketball coaches, head coach,
Okay.
assistant coach, um, you know, operation staff, and what have you. And so it's an entryway into the institutions.
Okay.
And you're right. Right after Floyd, you did see that, but then you saw it die down a lot.
Yes.
And so there was a resurgence, and it was almost like testing the network. So okay, we got all these coaches. Let's see. But now we can see that we can mobilize.
Yes.
It was something to come up with something, and then for 150, and these are big name brand institutions that carry a tremendous amount of weight in their particular location.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
Ohio State University has in athletics has tremendous impact in the state of Ohio, Minnesota,
Hmm.
University of Memphis basketball, tremendous impact that is being underused and under leveraged in many sense in terms of the kind of impact that it can make. For example, the Confederate flag was in the Mississippi State flag for many, 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 many years.
Hmm.
They had decades of marches and protests and rallies and everything else. But it wasn't until Kylan Hill, which was a star running back in Mississippi State a few years ago, said, "Hey, I'm transferring if y'all don't change this flag." The same week, the majority of the head coaches, Division I in Mississippi, met at the state capitol, held a press conference, and that flag was changed
Okay. Okay.
because,
So it's moving the social dial
yeah,
using the leverage of your athletics.
right. So I think we just scratched the surface. We'll expand it and make it much more dynamic next year. And try to make it much more impactful. But it was just, I don't. It had never been done before in college athletics to that scale. Even having a unified, uh,
Protest.
yeah, a unified movement around social justice. I mean, we've seen coaches versus cancer and some other issues, but never around the issues of social justice. So
Okay.
it's a tip of the iceberg in terms of what the possibilities and what these institutions can do through athletics. And so, I'm
Okay.
excited about examining some of the different ways that we can use athletics to make an impact both on those campuses, but then also in the hometowns of the players, where they a lot of times they're hometown heroes. So if you can spark a light even through a workshop or some kind of engagement there on campus, they
Hmm.
can go back to their hometown and spread the impact there.
So you worked with 5,000 role models. That too has been a very impressive program as well. Um, we recently learned that you partnered with um, our sorority actually, to send a couple of young men to Tennessee State. Um, our president for my sorority to Tennessee State, and then on to
Yeah, Dr. Glenda Glover.
yes,
Yeah, it's
he's
been
the
incredible.
president
You
of our
know,
organization.
I want to say there are, I think, over 100 students from the senior class that are going on. If it's not full scholarship, maybe close to full scholarships
Very
to
nice.
Tennessee State and to other institutions
Yeah,
as
it would. I
well.
mean,
But
they had a
there's a
big
tremendous
celebration.
amount going to Tennessee State. I know we sent 12 on full rides to TSU last year, which really opened the doors. One
Yeah,
young man, George Pickens, matter of fact, as a condition of him going to Tennessee State, he received automatic admission into Meharry Medical
very
College.
nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
and within 1 month, he had gotten a full scholarship also to Meharry Medical College. So those are the kind of transformational opportunities and experiences that the young men in the 5,000 role models are experiencing. So, hats
Absolutely.
off to Congresswoman Wilson and the entire staff and all of the thousands of mentors and community partners who create incredible life changing opportunities
Mhm.
for boys and young men. It's awesome.
That was where we had a big celebration, and that was a powerful day to know that young men were going to go become doctors, because that has been a part of, after COVID, one of the fallouts of, when you look at the health industry, there is not enough of us represented in that space.
Yeah.
So what a
Mhm.
wonderful idea to know that there will be.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Who have a heart for the community?
exactly,
Who have a heart for the community? So
exactly,
yeah, so
exactly.
it's so important to have that kind of representation and people
Exactly,
who come from the communities where a lot of our students are coming from.
exactly.
To have an
And they'll go back
understanding of that.
home
Yeah,
and know already. And it's something about that relationship you already had. It establishes trust, and especially in our community when we don't really trust the medical profession anyway,
hmm,
that's going to be extremely helpful and a great opportunity. So, at any rate, thanks for all you did for 5,000 role models. So, so I won't take up any more of your time, but I do thank you for coming on and giving us some insight. But before we go, I do have one more question. What do you think, like literally, what do you think the future of cryptocurrency? You talked about they won't make any more than what, 21 million, I think was the
well,
number.
that's just Bitcoin. I mean,
Just be,
I think it's going to be a huge part of the economy of the future.
okay.
I think it's a train that even if you try to stop it, it's too late. You're gonna get run over on the track. So you can either get on the train or get left behind at the station. But the train is coming, and
But do
it's
you think they'll start to try to regulate it? I mean, I'm sure there's talk about that.
yeah. I mean, they're already trying. They're already trying to do that now. It's gonna be difficult though because this is something that's world. It's global,
Right.
and
Right.
it's gonna be tough. But they're gonna try to regulate as much as, and there's gonna be a lot of pushback, and especially from banks.
Hmm.
Is he cutting
Yes,
them
of
out?
course. Of course,
So,
because you're cutting them out.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah. So,
that's definitely going to be of concern. So,
but it's
I'll do
coming.
a
It's
further
here.
research.
It's not even coming. It's here. It's
Yeah,
here,
that's
and
true.
it's incumbent upon us to take the time to continue to educate ourselves and figure out how we can create opportunity for our families and our community overall.
Right, right. It's like, I mean, yeah, you're right, and especially in our city, because our mayor is going full
Yeah,
in terms of even the budget, including some aspects of Bitcoin. So,
yeah.
so we need to be on board. Well, thank you again. Before we leave, how can we find you?
Find me on Twitter, Dr. Marcus Bright, Instagram, doc Marcus Bright. You can email me, drmarcusbright at gmail.com. And those are pretty
Okay,
much the ways to get to me.
okay. Thank you so much again for joining us and spending a little time with us to get us educated on a lot of stuff.
Hey,
And
thank you so
please
much.
stay in touch.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining us again today. I told you we were going to learn some stuff. So now when I leave you, I'm going to go do a little research on cryptocurrency, see if I can jump right in. But until next time, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.